think it's going on. I just need to do one more thing. I need to get a little quick time action, and then I will talk about some podcasting with you people who are watching this live right now. I think, yeah, that looks good over there. That's good over there. Let's get over there. We'll go over here. We're here. We're here. Wow. Hi. Good morning. Welcome to Podcast Pontifications, or at least the live taping thereof. My name is Evo Terra. Thank you very much for joining me this lovely Monday morning. I hope you're having a lovely Monday morning, unless, of course, you're in the path of the two hurricanes that are smacking into our continent, or the other crap generally going on in the world. Anyhow, I hope you're safe if you are in the path of Hurricane Ida, which just slammed into Louisiana yesterday, and also I hope you're safe if you are on the west coast of Mexico, where Hurricane Nora has just caused a little bit of havoc. And Hurricane Nora will be coming up to see us later on this week, giving us some rain, which is always lovely because we live in the desert and we like rain. Rain's a good thing. Anyhow, enough talk about the weather. We're going to talk about podcasting. Today's conversation will be about when pointless podcasting processes pay off. Now, that's the title of the show. And that's what I want to talk about with you guys today. My lighting all looks really terrible, and I don't know why. So I'm going to do some little adjusting. I still don't like it. It's the same settings I normally use, but something is off in the room, and it's just way too much red. I don't know. Everything's off. I'm going to have to play with it later on today. We had the beta grandkids over on Saturday, and the twins like to come play with this, but they don't do it live. They just do it on, like photo booth or something like that to have a lot of fun. So, hey, they're 11. They have fun. So, but it does screw up my system, and I probably should have adjusted it yesterday, but I didn't do it. Anyhow, hey, look, you're still here. For the brand new people, this is just the warm-up act. The real podcast is going to start in about another 2 minutes once I'm convinced my throat's not going to do that thing again, even though it oftentimes is wrong. You can skip all this preamble if you want. You can just go to podcastpontifications.com because in 3 hours, that's where the edited episode is going to be. The audio is going to be there. I'll have a completely rewritten article. It's all up there. But, a few people like to hang out and watch me as I do this live. And oddly enough, what are we talking about that today? Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to turn the air conditioner off. But check this out. I have a Nest thermostat, so I can say, hey, Google, set the temperature to 25. Sure. There's you. She set to 25. And, of course, that's Celsius. That should have put 25 degrees Fahrenheit because I don't think my air conditioner can go that low, as I should not. Anyhow, talking about pointless things. This would be a pointless thing. I mean, kinda. Who wants to do a live stream to, let's count them right now, 8 people watching? Although, I gotta say, that's a really big number for me. Thank you guys all for watching. This is kind of a pointless thing in podcasting. I'm going to talk more about that in just a moment. Arlen says, good morning. Good morning, Arlen. Nice to see you, sir. Thanks for being here. As always, I do appreciate your attention, sir. All right, so let's just make sure that I'm all set to go here. Back over to OBS. Let me check my audio mixer. Yeah, that looks pretty good. It's a little hot, but I don't think it's too bad. How do we look on the QuickTime? That looks pretty good. Oh, that's also too hot. Hang on. I'm going to back down the sound just a little bit. Backing. Back. There we go. All right. I think I'm pretty happy that way. It looked like it was peaking before. So feel free to adjust your headsets as required over there. All right, let's go back to controls. Back to over here. Now I'm going to shrink up my screen. You see, you're seeing the behind-the-scenes stuff, new people. You're seeing the behind-the-scenes stuff. We're about to get started with the real live program. I'm going to read the cold open once to make sure that I wrote it properly. That's the only thing that is really, truly scripted out of this next thing. So here we go. Following podcasting best practices is always smart, but it doesn't leave much room for creativity. Sometimes success is serendipitous, and what seems to be pointless may have a future unexpected upside. Fair warning, there's going to be a lot of alliteration in this episode. All right, I think that sounds pretty good to me, so it sounds good to you. We shall begin, and if you want to chat to me while I'm doing this, feel free to do so. I will come back at the end and answer any chats that any questions you might have, you'll paste them in the chat room right now. Also, it could be the fact that I'm wearing a white shirt. Maybe that wasn't a good idea. Maybe this white Captivate shirt I shouldn't have worn. Anyhow, Here we go. Following podcasting best practices is always smart, but it doesn't leave much room for creativity. Sometimes success is serendipitous, and what seems to be a pointless thing may have a future unexpected upside. Hello and welcome to another Podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. Productivity, prioritization, and podcasting. I say this not because I like alliteration, although I really do like alliteration, but because it's what we hear all the time. And generally speaking, I tend to agree with that. There are lots of things that you can waste your time on as a podcaster. And there's no shortage of top 10 things to improve, grow, / blow up your podcast. And you may not be doing all of those things, and in fact, you're probably not doing most of those things. You only have a limited amount of time every single day or week or month to invest in your podcast when you're not actually podcasting, which already takes up a whole lot of your time. So yeah, prioritize. Because your productivity needs to be, well versed. But however, all of those things being true, I'm a big fan of doing pointless things. Or rather, I guess I should say things that seem pointless. And if not pointless by themselves, then things that don't have an immediate, measurable payoff for your podcast. I'm just going to give you one example, and then we'll talk about this through the process of my singular example. And that is a thing that I call my minute of PodZen, or actually I call it your minute of PodZen. If you listen to Sounds Profitable, Pod News, or even the Ear, Brain, Heart podcast, you might have heard this little episode that I put together. That assumes that you listened all the way to the end of an episode of those shows that have included that little snippet. And by the way, the vast majority of people who listen to those shows do not listen all the way to the end, so they never hear your minute of PodZen. Also, an extremely small number of people have added Minute of PodZen to their Amazon smart speaker. Very small, like single digit, like not even approaching double digits. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with it, this is not a pitch for it, but Minute of PodZen is an extremely abbreviated version of Podcast Pontifications, which I'm going to write, which I do write and record every single day. Just like today, I will write and record a Minute of PodZen after I've done all the production work for this episode of Podcast Pontifications. It's this thing that you're listening to. Now, when I started it, I was playing with the notion that syndication, beyond just, RSS syndication, but truly syndicating content was going to be kind of a good idea. It might be something, this short little piece, might be something other podcasters who have podcasts about podcasting might want to incorporate into their show. And yes, I am thrilled to death that Brian and James and Mark have decided to take me up on that offer and are incorporating the content. I really appreciate it. But let's face it, the general idea of syndication is that it's picked up and redistributed in lots of different places by lots of different publishers. 3 is not lots. So the general idea of, hey, let's syndicate this hasn't really panned out. However, it's by far a failure. I mean, the words that I condense and rewrite into a Minute of PodZen, which I'm going to do here in just a little bit, those words have found a new purpose, which you've probably seen if you're following me on Twitter or other social media properties, which is mostly just Twitter for me. You see, the script of Minute of PodZen, that pointless thing I've been doing, has suddenly become the base of what I share out as a Twitter thread for each episode. You might have seen that happen over the last couple of weeks when I switched to this new format. I'm also using that text that I write in the Minute of PodZen to share on LinkedIn and on Facebook as the episode is published. You see, I'm no longer just sharing a quick blurb and a link to the episode's detail page on my website on social media. That's relatively low effort And it's also, as we know, not the greatest when it comes to success. Better than nothing? Absolutely. However, using this new longer form content is working much better. I can tell you that since implementing these new longer form posts, again, that all started life as the script for a minute of PodZen, that thing that, statistically speaking, extremely few of you have ever listened to, is making a really big difference when I post things. Not just in engagement, social engagement. You know how I feel about social engagement. You can't eat engagement, right? But it's also delivering lots of more traffic over to podcastpontification.com, my website. I'm seeing more people engage on content now in the advancing podcasting community brought in there because of this new longer form content I'm able to share socially, all because of that thing that no one statistically listens to called Minute of PodZen. It's going from pointless to powerful. Try to keep the alliteration going here. I'm not ready to cut it out because I'm finding a new life for it. What about you? Are there things you've always wanted to try? Try with your podcast to see, hey, this feels right, maybe I should do it? Well, give it a shot. You have no idea how or even if it's going to pay off later on. Don't kill it too early. Let it develop. I mean, it took me 50 episodes, over 50 episodes of Minute of PodZen until I figured out its real value, and now has become a staple of what I do. There are some times, like last week, when I will do all of the work to create the Minute of PodZen, don't actually record the Minute of PodZen, but I still use the words as my social shares every single time. So those things that you might think are pointless may not be pointless. Do the things that don't matter, because sometimes they wind up mattering big time for you and your show. Now let's enter the Boostagram corner. Boostagram. I want to thank Karen from the, or maybe it's Kyron from the Mere Mortals podcast. He used Podfriend, or they used Podfriend, to send about 1,200 sats along with the message of, hey, Evo, I heard your podcast mentioned somewhere in the 2.0 community. Yes, I'm semi-active over there, and wanted to come here to check out what you're up to. Ah, how nice. Lots of handy advice, thank you. And we'll definitely check in every now and then to find out some small snippets to make me a better podcaster. Awesome. And then he says, just about to go listen to you on Podland as well. And then he says, go podcasting as well. Thank you very much, Karen. I appreciate you staying here and checking out what's going on. If you figured out how to send boosts in your new podcast listening app, feel free to do so, along with a message much like that. But if that's too complicated, and in fact, let's face it, it's pretty stinking complicated, there are always the option out there for you to go to buymeacoffee.com/evoterra, which is what Josh Lipton did. Along with Virtual Coffee, they said, one of my favorite shows about our medium. The discussions are thought-provoking. It's the entertainment value, however, that keeps me listening. Well, thank you very much for listening, Josh. I do appreciate that. And with all of that, I'll say that's it, and I shall be back tomorrow with yet another podcast, Pontifications. Cheers. Video off. Audio off. Dun, 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 dun. Boom. Still streaming. Oh, we're still streaming. Checking out the chat room. So, if you are just now tuning in, you missed it. But hey, that's the cool. You can back up 14 minutes and 7 seconds if you like, or you can just go to podcastpontifications.com, click that big subscribe button, and give it your email address. I know, podcasting, email, what, huh? But if you do that, you will get an email at 10 o'clock in the morning that has two things in it. One, it has every single word I just said totally rewritten so that your eyeballs aren't offended by my inability to make complete sentences when I talk extemporaneously. You know, the problem all human beings have. You'll get that, so you can read it right there in your inbox. And also, there is a link to the edited audio file, so you can click and listen if that's what you wish to do as well. And of course, yes, it's available in the podcast listening app that you are using right now. Well, not right now, because right now, you're watching this on a live stream. It's possible. I mean, look, I'm getting too far down there. You know what I'm saying? It's available. It's out there. So, all right. Well, thanks for that. Again, have a good Monday. Have a safe Monday. Safe rest of your week. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do more podcast talking about that time. Does that sound good for you? Sounds good to me. Bye.